So, in case you're a nerd who's been living under a rock, we're getting two new Avengers movies: Avengers Doomsday in 2026 and Avengers Secret Wars in 2027. The two movies will serve as a conclusion to the multiverse saga of the MCU, or anything that's happened since Endgame, essentially. Which, speaking of, both these movies will also be written and directed by the team behind Endgame and Infinity War, and Civil War, and Winter Soldier. So, it's safe to say the hype is going to be pretty unreal, and it's already starting to build, which brings us here. I'm Tristan from the Nerd Authorities, and today I'm going to be going over 10 characters I think we'll see in Avengers Secret Wars. Why am I doing a video on Secret Wars and not Doomsday? Great question. Well, I'm a big comics guy, and both the Secret Wars 1984 run and the 2015 Secret Wars runs are two of my favorites of all time, and I just love speculating based on comics. If you're familiar with this channel, you probably already know that. If you're not familiar with this channel, here's your friendly reminder to go ahead and subscribe for more great nerd content, and like this video if you enjoy it. It really helps us out, and we want to keep making great content for all of you. Okay, before we get into the list, I want to establish some parameters. First off, this is not every single character I think we will see in Secret Wars. It's 10 of them, like it says in the title. I think we'll see a lot more than 10 characters in the movie, but I wanted to pick 10 interesting or new characters or versions of a character we may see. I tried to not pick any characters that were too obvious or characters we already pretty much know will be in the movie, like Doctor Doom, for example. But if you guys really enjoyed this video and you want to see more, I'm more than happy to make more of these videos and cover any of the characters I missed. So if you feel like there's anyone in this list I'm missing, feel free to comment down below and maybe it'll be featured in the next video. Alright, let's get into it. Number 10, an alternate Hank Pym / Ant-Man. We already know for sure that we're going to be seeing Paul Rudd return as Scott Lang / Ant-Man in Avengers Doomsday, but I think it's possible that we'll see an alternate universe version of Ant-Man in Secret Wars. Spoiler alert for a lot of this list, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot of variants in Secret Wars, and Doomsday for that matter. These two movies are the conclusions to the multiverse saga, so I'd expect multiverse shenanigans to be as baked into the story of these movies as the Infinity Stones were to the conclusion of the Infinity Saga. Ant-Man is one character that, within the MCU, has remained pretty consistent in almost all of his outings, and seeing an alternate version could be really exciting. In the comics, the main Ant-Man is Hank Pym, but the MCU decided to go a different route and make Hank Pym a mentor figure in the MCU, which is cool and has worked thus far, but seeing an alternate universe Ant-Man that's actually Hank Pym would be a cool way to do a more classic comic accurate take on the character. Additionally, the MCU's Hank Pym has publicly stated that he's done playing the character, so I'm sure he could change his mind with enough money, but where else are we really going to take his version of the character other than the nursing home? Sorry, but homie should have died in Quantumania anyways to raise the stakes. Additionally, there's been other characters to don the mantle of Ant-Man in the comics, like Eric O'Grady, the irredeemable Ant-Man, that we could see instead of an alternate version. But I think a character like that may need a little bit more story than the runtime may allow for in Secret Wars. Number 9. The Maker. If you aren't familiar with the character, in the comics, the Maker is an alternate evil version of Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe, which runs parallel to the main Marvel Comics universe and plays a huge part in the 2015 Secret Wars comic run. I think the MCU's Secret Wars will draw from both versions of Secret Wars in the comics, but I think it'll take a lot of influence from the 2015 Jonathan Hickman run, just due to the multiversal element and the concept of incursions that the MCU seems to be building towards. I think this influence from the 2015 run could very likely lead to us seeing at least a version of the Maker in the MCU's Secret Wars. Additionally, I think the fact we've seen 3 other actors portray different versions of Reed Richards in the last 20 years makes this way more likely as well, because getting any of those actors to return for the role of the Maker would definitely provide a big crowd-pleasing moment. I know some people think that the Maker is much too big of a villain to introduce this soon after introducing the Fantastic Four, but I think that they will likely try to stay away from multiverse stuff after the multiverse saga, so I don't really know when else they'd have an opportunity to adapt a version of the Maker. That being said, I won't hedge my bets too strongly on this one, because I think if they're bringing RDJ back as Doom, I don't think they'll leave much room for other big skill antagonists in the story, and just in general, they've got a lot of ground to cover. I think it would be cool though. I would love to see Lone Gruffett or Miles Teller take a crack at the character, or even if it was just Pedro again, that would be cool too. Number 8. Hydra Cap, or an Evil Cap variant. Okay, like I said, a lot of multiversal variants, but come on, man. I feel like this one is pretty reasonable to expect. I think that Marvel is definitely going to want, if not expect, the Russo brothers to provide as many big crowd reaction moments as possible in Doomsday and Secret Wars. Hell, you could argue Marvel's been expecting big crowd reaction moments in a lot of their movies since Endgame, and they've kind of spent a lot of their big nostalgia points already. And I think they'll spend a lot of their remaining nostalgia points in Doomsday. So, one of the ways I think they'll achieve big moments in Secret Wars is by using more recent nostalgia, like early MCU. This line of thinking would undeniably explain RDJ's casting, and if that is the reason why they've brought him back, I think it's very reasonable to expect an evil variant of Captain America in Secret Wars. Additionally, Chris Evans has already returned for a cameo once, so I think it's reasonable to expect he'd do it again, especially if his buddies are doing it. Though, I could see someone making the point that since he just did a cameo, that makes it less likely he'd do it again, and maybe so, but I don't know, this one feels likely to me. The Hydra Cap moment in the Secret Empire comic run was one of the most viral comic moments in the last 10 years, and I think if there's an opportunity to adapt that to the screen and achieve that big of a moment for the crowds, they will absolutely shoot for it. It could also help provide some great character moments for Sam Wilson and or John Walker to see the real deal turned evil, since both of those characters' stories are so deeply tied to Steve Rogers. Number 7. The Thor Corps. I promise this list won't be all variants, but there is a lot on here. In the 2015 Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars, Dr. Doom has an army of Thor variants that work for him as sort of his own personal army. I think this one is likely for pretty much all the same reasons as the last few, but another reason I think this one is likely is because the last 2 times we've seen Thor, they've been making it a point to show us that other people can wield Thor's powers. In Endgame with Cap and Love and Thunder with Jane. But more importantly, with the end of Love and Thunder, we literally see Thor divide his powers amongst a large group of kids. I know some people seem to believe that they won't reference things from the movies that weren't as well received, but there's literally no actual precedent to back that up, and I think it's very likely that they continue referencing things that happened in other movies. The least liked movie of the Infinity Saga played a big role in the story of Endgame. Also, it wouldn't be hard to explain to people who didn't see Love and Thunder. There's a lot of Thors. That's it. I also think that since Thor has already had a direct alternate version in one of his movies, I think giving him many alternates like this may be a way to still make it feel fresh when we see it, giving us another big crowd reaction moment, because, come on, even if it was just like 5 or 6 Thors, that's sick as hell, dude. It'd be sick to see some more iconic Thors like Beta Ray Bill, but I'd rather see that in a solo Thor movie, honestly. Number 6. Ghost Rider, the first non-variant or alternate on the list, but I feel pretty confident in this one. I think that Ghost Rider is one of the few characters that is yet to appear in any MCU movie that most general audiences would still recognize in theaters. Whether they do the nostalgia route and have Nick Cage cameo, which he would probably do, or you just have someone random play him. Regardless, when Ghost Rider appears on screen under any context in an Avengers movie, the crowd is going to go nuts. I've seen some rumors and fan speculation that Ryan Gosling may play the character in Secret Wars since he's worked with the Russos recently, and, well, since he outright said that he would want to play Ghost Rider. Give it to me. I don't want to get my hopes up or anyone else's, but that would be so nuts, dude. Come on. Johnny Blaze. His head is a skull and it's on fire and he drives a motorcycle. Put him in Secret Wars. Number 5. An alternate Black Panther. I think this one is super likely. I mean, Black Panther as a character is in an elite club of superheroes whose solo movies can gross $1 billion. And although I think Wakanda Forever was a beautiful tribute to an actor that definitely deserved it, I think Marvel and its fans are ready to have a traditional Black Panther back in the mantle. I think Wakanda Forever has already set this up for us pretty brilliantly with T'Challa's son, T'Challa II, being introduced. With some time travel stuff or multiverse stuff or literally whatever in this universe where actual magic is real, they can very easily just make him older, whatever age they need him to be. I mean, legit, I think on Battleworld, you can literally just have characters pop up with no explanation, like, hey, I'm T'Challa II, I'm the Black Panther. Or again, you could just do a multiversal variant. I'm not too worried about how they'll execute this because I think they're undeniably going to consult a gentleman named Ryan Coogler, who I think we should all have a little bit of faith in. He's definitely communicated with Marvel where he wants the Wakanda / Black Panther side of the MCU to land at after Secret Wars for his third Black Panther movie. And I think sure he may even continue being Black Panther throughout all of this, but I definitely think it's likely that we get some new version of Black Panther introduced in Secret Wars, and then that gets explored more in Black Panther 3, even if that story is about having multiple Black Panthers. Number 5, Maestro. This one finally completes my theory that I think RDJ's Doom is likely going to have an evil variant version of the original 6 Avengers working for him, or at least most of them. I don't really know what they could do that would be interesting with a Black Widow variant in a movie with these kind of stakes, but I don't know. I think it would be the perfect multiverse nostalgia punch that would make so much sense for this movie and at least partially explain RDJ's Doom casting. Though, out of all the Avenger variants, Maestro is probably the one I feel the most confident in. For starters, I think we will definitely see some kind of Hulk variant in Secret Wars, and not only is Maestro probably the most famous Hulk variant, but Maestro was in the 2015 Secret Wars where he served on Doom's council. Again, I know they don't have to pull from the comics, but when something this cool is right there, why wouldn't they, you know? Also, I think fans have been very vocally asking for some cool-ass Hulk stuff again, and this is a huge opportunity for that. MCU Hulk turns to a classic Rage Hulk in purple shorts fighting Maestro Hulk may be one of the best ways to make up to Hulk fans. Also, I think Marvel has slowly been building up more of the Hulk world post-Endgame with the return of Abomination and the Leader and the introduction of Red Hulk, Scar, and She-Hulk. And we've also gotten reports of Hulk playing a large role in Spider-Man Brand New Day. If we're feeling the green fever, I think Maestro is a guarantee for a story like Secret Wars. Number 3, Galactus. I think this one is pretty easy to explain. You do not get an absolute dream casting of Ralph Ineson and an absolutely picture-perfect design like this and only use it once, especially with the villain as iconic as Galactus. And you guessed it, he does appear in the 2015 Secret Wars, but that's not all. He also appears in the 1984 Secret Wars, where he tries to consume Battleworld but is stopped by Dr. Doom. I mean, come on, this is a given. I think the only possible reason Galactus wouldn't be in Secret Wars is if he is in Doomsday and somehow meets his fate in Doomsday. But even then, I wouldn't be surprised if he or a variant or something pops up. I definitely think the fact that he is the primary antagonist of Fantastic Four First Steps, and we know for sure that that leads directly into Doomsday because of Thunderbolts, makes me wonder if Galactus may play a larger role than we're expecting him to. I won't dive too far into theories here, but imagine if the Fantastic Four lose to Galactus in First Steps, then when he appears in Secret Wars or Doomsday, that's who Doom steals the power of, since that'll be a threat level that audiences would be familiar with if we just saw him destroy a planet in First Steps. Regardless of how it pans out, I think this one's pretty much a lock. Number 2, Thanos. I could not be more confident that we will see some version of Thanos in Secret Wars. For starters, yes, he appears in the 2015 Secret Wars, and I actually think his role in the movie will be pretty comparable to this, but I'll come back to that. I think the main reason he will appear is for the same reason as all the other variants. We get a big nostalgia crowd moment. However, I think that with Thanos, it also gives an opportunity to power skill pretty blatantly, just like in the Jonathan Hickman run. I see a lot of people referencing this moment and saying stuff like, oh, this is how Doomsday or Secret Wars should open. And I get the idea with that, but this moment was so good in the comic because it was earned. This Thanos played a role in the whole run. He was from the Ultimate Universe and arrived with the Maker and the Cabal, and he pretty much serves as an anti-hero for the story. He wants to take down Doom, but maybe not for the same reasons as our heroes. But their goals align and we get a lot of cool moments with Thanos, and I would love to see at least some of this in the movie before we get our power scaling moment. I would also love for the variant in the movie to be a bit more distinguishable and different from the versions we've already seen. I would love an old King Thanos, but I'll take whatever. Thanos is my favorite character ever. Number 1, Symbiote Spider-Man. This one should be the most obvious one there is. Let's go over the evidence. 1, the literal origin of the symbiote suit was the 1984 Secret Wars, where we got the most iconic cover of the series, but I'll come back to that. 2, the last scene of the last Spider-Man movie showed us the symbiote. They've set the stage for it. And don't tell me anything about Venom 3. I didn't watch it, and neither did a lot of people in the general audience, which is why I don't think They will worry about however that movie broke canon. 3. Tom Holland's name was noticeably absent from the Doomsday cast announcement. If he's not in Doomsday, you bet your ass he will be center stage in Secret Wars. Spider-Man is the biggest hero in the Marvel Universe. If he can play a huge comic-accurate role in Secret Wars, they're going to do that. If, by some chance, they miss the opportunity to recreate this iconic cover for a Secret Wars poster, it will be one of the biggest fumbles of all time. All the pieces are in place for it to work. They just need to not fumble. I think even if the symbiote plays a large role in the story of Brand New Day, you could still have him in the suit at the beginning of Secret Wars, even if it's literally just to recreate the poster. But also just because it would be so cool to see Symbiote Spider-Man in an actual Secret Wars movie. It just makes too much sense. All right, well, that is going to do it for us today. Like I said earlier, if you enjoyed this video, definitely leave a like and a comment letting me know. We can do more list videos or Marvel videos or whatever you want to see, really. We'll be streaming some video games about 3 times a week on this channel as well, and at least 2 videos a week. So you should definitely hit that red button. I think you'll enjoy it. Until then, I will see you guys next time. Peace.